Welcome back. It's soon 4 p.m. Just made an English video because I did start talking on this video. I did talk about I got my Danish pension yesterday, Wednesday, and I did pay my bills today. Got my Danish pension yesterday, and today is 1st May. I did read about this F-15 fighter jet, but that's 3 generations, so the next is F-15E. And I will cook food a little bit later. I just this was on my English video. I will fry some onions in olive oil and rice. But I like to read this now because it's too early to make hot food. So let's read this and I make a Danish video. So I read the F-15 today. And this is the 2nd generation 15E. That's a very good fighter jet. So I don't know why my country Denmark had buy the F-16 in the early 80s, 1980s. But the Danish Air Force buy the F-15, no F-16. This is a much better fighter. It's much bigger, faster.
McDonnell Douglas F-15E Strike Eagle. For the game, see F-15 Strike Eagle, video game. The McDonnell Douglas, now Boeing, F-15E Strike Eagle is an American all-weather multi-role strike fighter derived from the McDonnell Douglas F-15 Eagle. Intended for the dual-role fighter, DRF, program, initially called Enhanced Tactical Fighter, the F-15E was designed in the 1980s for long-range, high-speed interdiction without relying on escort or electronic warfare aircraft. United States Air Force, USAF, F-15E Strike Eagles can be generally distinguished from other US Eagle variants by darker aircraft camouflage, conformal fuel tanks, CFTs, and lantern pods mounted behind the engine intake ramps, although CFTs can also be mounted on earlier F-15 variants, and a tandem seat cockpit. Initially designed and manufactured by McDonnell Douglas, the F-15E first flew in 1986 and production continued under Boeing following the company's merger in 1997. The aircraft became the USAF's primary strike fighter /interdictor starting near the end of the Cold War, gradually replacing the F-111 Aardvark. The Strike Eagle has been deployed for military operations in Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, and Libya, among others. During these operations, the strike fighter has carried out deep strikes against high-value targets and combat air patrols, and provided close air support for coalition troops. It has also been exported to several countries. The F-15E is expected to remain in USAF service until the 2030s. Enhanced versions of the design, called the F-15 Advanced Eagle, remain in production. Development, edit. Origins, edit. The McDonnell Douglas F-15 Eagle was introduced by the USAF to replace its fleet of McDonnell Douglas F-4 Phantom IIS. Unlike the F-4, the F-15 was designed for air superiority with little consideration for a ground attack role. the F-15 Special Project Office opposed the idea of F-15s performing interdiction, giving rise to the phrase "not a pound for air to ground." In service, the F-15 has been a successful fighter, scoring over 100 aerial combat victories and 0 losses in air-to-air combat as of 2007. Despite a lack of official interest, McDonnell Douglas had quietly included a basic secondary ground attack capability in the F-15's design since the beginning and worked on an F-15-derived interdictor fighter. The company envisaged the aircraft as a replacement for the General Dynamics F-111 and the remaining F-4s, as well as to augment the existing F-15s. In 1978, the USAF initiated the Tactical All-Weather Requirement Study, which looked at McDonnell Douglas's proposal and other options such as the purchase of further F-111Fs. The study recommended the F-15E as the USAF's future strike platform. In 1979, McDonnell Douglas and Hughes began a close collaboration on the development of the F-15E's air-to-ground capabilities. To assist in the F-15E's development, McDonnell Douglas modified the second TF-15, a prototype, AF serial number 71-0291, as a demonstrator. The aircraft, known as the Advanced Fighter Capability Demonstrator, first flew on the 8th of July 1980. It was previously used to test conformal fuel tanks, CFTs, initially designed for the F-15 under the designation Fast Pack, with fast standing for fuel and sensor, tactical. It was subsequently fitted with a PAVE-TAC laser designator targeting pod to allow the independent delivery of guided bombs. The demonstrator was displayed at the 1980 Farnborough Air Show. Enhanced Tactical Fighter, edit. In March 1981, the USAF announced the Enhanced Tactical Fighter program to replace the F-111. The program was later renamed the Dual Role Fighter, DRF, competition. The concept envisioned an aircraft capable of launching deep air interdiction missions without requiring additional support by fighter escort or jamming. General Dynamics submitted the F-16XL, while McDonnell Douglas submitted the F-15E. The Panavia Tornado was also a candidate, but since the aircraft lacked a credible air superiority fighter capability, coupled with the fact that it was not American-made, it was not seriously considered. The second TF-15O, AFSA, number 71-0291, used as an F-15E demonstrator. The DRF evaluation team, under the direction of Brigadier General Ronald W. Yates, ran from 1981 through the 30th of April, 1983, during which the F-15E logged more than 200 flights, demonstrated takeoff weight of more than 75,000 pounds, 30-40, and validated 16 different weapons-carrying configurations. McDonnell Douglas, to assist 71-0291 in the evaluation, added to the program other F-15s, designated 78-0468, 80-0055, and 81-0063. The single-engined F-16XL was a promising design, which with its radically redesigned cranked delta wing, greatly boosted performance. If selected, the single and two-seat versions were to be designated F-16E and F-16F, respectively. On the 24th of February 1984, the USAF chose the F-15E. Key factors in the decision were the F-15E's lower development costs compared to the F-16XL, US $270 million versus US $470 million, a belief that the F-15E had future growth potential, and possessing twin-engine redundancy. The USAF was initially expected to procure 400 aircraft, a figure later revised to 392. Construction of the first 3 F-15Es started in July 1985. The first of these, 86-0183, made its maiden flight on the 11th of December 1986. Piloted by Gary Jennings, the aircraft reached a maximum speed of Mach 0.9 and an altitude of 40,000 feet, 12,000 m, during the 75-minute flight. This aircraft had the full F-15E avionics suite and the redesigned front fuselage, but not the aft fuselage and the common engine bay. The latter was featured on 86-0184, while 86-0185 incorporated all the changes of the F-15E from the F-15. On the 31st of March 1987, the first officially completed F-15E made its first flight. The first production F-15E was delivered to the 405th Tactical Training Wing, Luke Air Force Base, Arizona, in April 1988. Production continued into the 2000s with 236 produced for the USAF through 2001. Upgrade programs and replacement, edit. Main article, Boeing F-15X Eagle II. The F-15E was upgraded with the Raytheon and /APG-82 V1 active electronically scanned array AESA radar after 2007, and the first test radar was delivered to Boeing in 2010. It combines the processor of the APG-79 used on the F/A-18E/F Super Hornet with the antenna of the APG-63 V3 AESA being fitted on the F-15C. It was named APG-63 V4 until it received the APG-82 designation in 2009. The new radar is to be part of the F-15E radar modernization program, which also includes a wideband radome, enabling operation on more radar frequencies, and environment control and electronic warfare improvements. In 2015, Boeing and BAE Systems were awarded contracts to comprehensively upgrade of the electronic warfare system of all USAF F-15s, including the F-15E, with the AN/ALQ-250 Eagle Passive /Active Warning Survivability System, EPORS. The first F-15E retrofitted with EPORS was delivered in 2022. Having a sturdier airframe rated for 8,000 hours of service life or up to 16,000 hours with proper depot maintenance programs, twice the lifetime of earlier variants, the F-15E is expected to remain in service past 2025. As of December 2012, the USAF's F-15E fleet had an average age of 21 years and an average airframe flying time of 6,000 hours. In 2012, the USAF was reportedly considering future options, with no replacement for the F-15E being slated at that time. The F-15E design would see some export success and Boeing continued developing upgrades for international customers. More radical upgrades to the air vehicle design resulted in the F-15 Advanced Eagle family that began with the F-15 Saudi Advanced, for the Royal Saudi Air Force, which first flew in 2013. It replaces the older hybrid electronic /mechanical system with a digital fly-by-wire control system that opens up 2 additional wing pylons and a revised wing structure for increased service life. The Advanced Eagle would have further developed variants with the F-15QA, Qatari Advanced, for the Qatar Emiri Air Force and the F-15X Eagle II for the USAF. In FY 2020, USAF began procuring the F-15X to replace the aging fleet of F-15C/D and supplement the F-22 Raptor to maintain air superiority fighter numbers, taking advantage of the existing export production line to quickly and affordably bring additional fighters into service. The F-15X is also an option to replace the F-15E at a later time. Another choice is the F-35 Lightning II, set to replace other aircraft such as the F-16 Falcon. A F-35E variant was studied. Adding a second seat to the F-35 is complex and costly, especially to preserve its stealth profile. Providing for greater range and payload would also be difficult tasks. Alternatively, the role could be covered by a combination of fighter and bomber aircraft, such as the B-21 Raider. The F-15E may also be replaced by a clean sheet 6th generation aircraft design. Alyssa, edit. On the 24th of March, 2014, Boeing won a $30.6 million contract from DARPA as part of the Airborne Launch Assist Space Access, Alyssa, program. The goal of the program is to cut the cost of putting microsatellites into orbit by 66% through advances in launch systems. Under the 11-month contract, Boeing will build 12 24 feet, 7.3 m, launch vehicles, each with a payload capability up to 100 pound, 45 kilograms. An Alyssa vehicle is to be fitted under an F-15E, which will climb to 40,000 feet, then be released and fire its 4 engines to reach low Earth orbit. Awarding the contract to Boeing would make use of the F-15E as the carriage vehicle, as previous design contracts had been given to Lockheed Martin to use the F-22 Raptor and Virgin Galactic to use their Spaceship Two aircraft. DARPA had previously insisted they wanted to select an aircraft they would not need to modify heavily to carry and launch the Alyssa payload. The project was terminated in late 2015. Design, edit. For the airframe overview, see McDonnell Douglas F-15 Eagle. Overview, edit. The F-15E's deep strike mission is a radical departure from the original intent of the F-15 since it was designed as an air superiority fighter under the mantra "not a pound for air to ground." The basic airframe, however, proved versatile enough to produce a very capable strike fighter. The F-15E, while designed for ground attack, retains the air-to-air lethality of the F-15, and can defend itself against enemy aircraft. The F-15E prototype was a modification of the two-seat F-15B. Despite its origins and retaining the same aerodynamic shape, it includes significant structural changes as well as more powerful engines. The aft fuselage was designed to incorporate the more powerful engines with advanced engine bay structures and doors, which incorporate superplastic forming and diffusion bonding technologies. The back seat is equipped for a Weapons Systems Officer, WSO, pronounced WISO, to work the air-to-ground avionics via multiple screens. These view the radar, electronic warfare, or thermographic cameras, monitor aircraft or weapons status and possible threats, select targets, and use an electronic moving map to navigate. Two-hand controls are used to select new displays and to refine targeting information. Displays can be moved from one screen to another using a menu of display options. Unlike previous two-place jets, for example the F-14 Tomcat and Navy variants of the F-4, whose backseat omitted flying controls, the F-15E's backseat is equipped with its own stick and throttle so the WSO can take over flying, albeit with reduced visibility. For extended range, the F-15E is fitted with two conformal fuel tanks, CFTs, that hug the fuselage to produce lower drag than conventional underwing forward/underbelly drop tanks. They carry 750 US gallons, 2,800 L, of fuel, and house 6 weapons hardpoints in 2 rows of 3 in tandem. Unlike conventional drop tanks, CFTs cannot be jettisoned, thus increased range is a trade-off for increased drag and weight compared to a clean configuration. Avionics, edit. A wing-over maneuver displays the clean lines and high-wing design of an F-15E from Elmendorf, AFB, Alaska. The Tactical Electronic Warfare System, TEWS, integrates all countermeasures on the craft: radar warning receivers, radar jammer, radar and chaff forward/flare dispensers are all tied to the TEWS to provide comprehensive defense against detection and tracking. This system includes an externally mounted ALQ-131 ECM pod which is carried on the centerline pylon when required. The MIDS Fighter Data Link Terminal, produced by BAE Systems, improves situational awareness and communications capabilities via the Link 16 data link. The TEWS was replaced by the AN/ALQ-250 F-Horse Digital Electronic Warfare Suite beginning in 2022. F-Horse replaces all TEWS components with lighter and more capable digital ones for increased performance. The APG-70 radar allows crews to detect ground targets from longer ranges. One feature is that, after a sweep of a target area, the crew may freeze the air-to-ground map, then switch to air-to-air mode to scan for aerial threats. During air-to-surface weapon delivery, the pilot is capable of detecting, targeting, and engaging air-to-air targets while the WSO designates ground targets. The APG-70 was replaced by the AN/APG-82 V1 AESA radar, which began flight tests in January 2010 and achieved initial operational capability in 2014. Its inertial navigation system uses a laser gyroscope to continuously monitor the aircraft's position and provide information to the central computer and other systems, including a digital moving map in both cockpits. The F-15E is commonly equipped with lantern system pods for its interdiction role. Mounted externally under the engine intakes, the lantern system allows the aircraft to fly at low altitudes, at night, and in any weather conditions, to attack ground targets with a variety of precision-guided and unguided weapons. The lantern system gives the F-15E exceptional accuracy in weapons delivery day or night and in poor weather, and consists of two pods attached to the exterior of the aircraft. At night, the video picture from the lantern can be projected on the head-up display, HUD, producing an infrared image of the ground. The AN/AAQ-13 navigation pod contains a terrain-following radar which allows the pilot to safely fly at a very low altitude following cues displayed on a HUD. It also can be coupled to the autopilot to provide hands-off terrain-following capability. This pod also contains a forward-looking infrared system which is projected on the HUD, typically used during nighttime or low-visibility operations. The nav pod is installed beneath the right engine intake. The targeting pod contains a laser designator and a tracking system that mark an enemy for destruction as far away as 10 mi, 16 kilometers. Once tracking has started, targeting information is automatically handed off to infrared homing air-to-surface missiles or laser-guided bombs. The targeting pod is mounted beneath the left engine intake. Configurations may be either the AN/AAQ-14, AN/AAQ-28, V, Lightning, or the AN/AAQ-33 Sniper. The F-15E carries most air-to-ground weapons in the USAF inventory. It is also armed with AIM-9 sidewinders and AIM-120 AMRAAMs, retaining the counter-air capabilities of its Eagle lineage, being fully capable of offensive counter-air operations. Like the F-15C, it also carries an internally mounted General Electric M61 a 120mm cannon with 500 rounds, which is effective against enemy aircraft and soft ground targets. Since 2004, South Korean firm LIG Nex-1 has been manufacturing the F-15's head-up display. A total number of 150 HUDs were delivered by 2011. LIG Nex-1 had been a participant in the F-15K program as a subcontractor to Rockwell Collins. LIG Nex-1 is also preparing to manufacture F-15's new multifunction display and flight control computer. Also since 2004, Korea Aerospace Industries, KAI, has produced the F-15's wings and forward fuselages. In 2008, KAI established another production line for Singapore's F-15SG. KAI is involved in the design and manufacture of the conformal weapons bay, CWB, for the F-15 Silent Eagle. Engines, edit. The engines used on early aircraft are the same as on previous F-15 variants. The Pratt & Whitney F-100 PW220 each producing 23,770 lbf, 105.7 kN, of thrust in afterburner. Later batches feature the more powerful F-100 PW229 engines with 29,160 lbf, 129.7 kN, of thrust each. Saudi Arabian and Israeli aircraft are also initially equipped with the F-100-229 engines. While the F-15E had also been flight tested with the General Electric F-110GE129 with 29,500 lbf, 131.2 kN, of thrust, the South Korean F-15K would be the first variant to adopt it in service. The F-15K would have two different engine types. The first batch are powered by F-110-129 engines, while the second batch are powered by F-100-229 engines. In 2008, Saudi Arabia decided to re-engine their F-15S fleet with the F-110-129 engines, which also enables commonality with their F-15SA fleet. The Singapore Air Force equipped their F-15SG fleet with F-110-129 engines. Operational history, edit. United States, edit. The F-15E was first delivered to the U.S. Air Force operational units in 1988. The F-15E reached initial operational capability on the 30th of September, 1989 at Seymour Johnson Air Force Base in North Carolina with the 4th Tactical Fighter Wing, 336th Tactical Fighter Squadron. Gulf War, edit. The F-15E was deployed in response to Iraq's invasion of Kuwait in August 1990 for Operation Desert Shield. The 336th Tactical Fighter Squadron flew to Seab Air Base in Oman to begin training exercises in anticipation of an Iraqi attack on Saudi Arabia. In December, the 335th and 336th Squadrons relocated to Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia, closer to Iraq's border. At the start of Operation Desert Storm, 24 F-15s launched an attack on 5 fixed Scud installations in western Iraq on the 17th of January, 1991. Missions against Scud sites continued through that night with a second strike of 21 F-15s. At night time, F-15s flew hunter missions over western Iraq, searching for mobile Scud launchers. By conducting random bombings in suspected areas, it was hoped to deter the Iraqis from setting up for a Scud launch. On the war's opening night, an F-15E failed to hit a MiG-29 with an AIM-9 Sidewinder. Other F-15s also unsuccessfully engaged this lone MiG-29, which was eventually brought down by a missile of unknown origin. On the 18th of January, during a strike against a petrol oil and lubricant plant near Basra, an F-15E was lost to enemy fire, killing both pilot and WSO. F-15E crews described this mission as the most difficult and dangerous of the war as it was heavily defended by SA-3S, SA-6S, SA-8S and Rolands as well as by anti-aircraft artillery. 2 nights later, a second and final F-15E was downed by an Iraqi Satu. The crew survived and evaded capture for several days and made contact with coalition aircraft, but a rescue was not launched due to security issues over an airman who failed to identify himself with proper codes. The Iraqis later captured both airmen. F-15s destroyed 18 Iraqi jets on the ground at Talal Air Base using GBU-12S and CBU-87S. On the 14th of February, an F-15E scored its only air-to-air kill of the war, a Mi-24